YouTube, it's your boy Lipid out here with another Sky Fury reaction. Today we got the day that almost ended the world. Let's get right into it, shall we? Hit it.
March 11th, 2011. A routine Friday became the deadliest day in modern Japan. But it was only the beginning.
A tsunami that sent a giant wall of water racing towards the coast.
A sudden explosion occurred. Something that shouldn't have happened. From that moment, the disaster threatened not just Japan, but the entire world.
It is a fact in this part of Japan that at this moment in time, there are not enough living to take care of the dead.
That's a line.
The first warning signs appeared on March 9th, 2011, 2 days before the disaster. 11:45 a.m., a 7.2 magnitude earthquake struck off the coast of Sanriku, Japan, shaking buildings and briefly alarming residents. It was powerful, but not unusual for a country accustomed to tremors. 3 more earthquakes occurred on the same day.
I do have to be frank to say this because I fortunately have enough, we've grown up in places where we don't have to deal with earthquakes at all. In fact, there might be like one point in my life where we felt like a tremor, and I vividly remember that when I was in class, and it was just when you're stacked, you have your desk, chair, there's a person behind you with a desk, chair, and I remember having a bottle of water on my table, and I remember just sitting through class. It's like, you're bantering, you're doing your own thing, right? And usually it's always the kid behind you that basically just slightly kicks your chair or like pushes your chair. You're like, okay, bro, knock it off. So, and usually when they kick your chair, they move the table so the water shifts, right? So I remember sitting and having that water bottle just slowly, just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and it was enough to see it move, but it wasn't strong enough to be like, okay, it's probably bro behind me doing it. I turned back and I said, bro, just chill. It's class. And then I saw his water bottle moving. And then I remember looking back and I was like, oh, because it was different water bottles at different points in the class, all moving. And we looked back at the teacher at the front and she recognized it. We're like, oh, it's not an earthquake. It's a tremor. It's a mild tremor. You feel it and it just goes away. Right? I can only imagine what it feels like to be in a place and have to deal with really powerful earthquakes. Now, granted, I know from an engineering standpoint, Japan's civil code probably has a more stringent earthquake proofing design base. I don't think anything's truly earthquake proof, but you're earthquake resistant. So most of these buildings and structures should be able to stand upright, and most infrastructure should be okay. But that being said, I don't think anyone who lives in those buildings wants to test it out against a proper high magnitude earthquake. Which is just crazy to me, honestly.
In the same area, each with a magnitude exceeding 6.0.
3 of them. Oh, okay.
But life quickly returned to normal, and still, no one knew this was the Earth's first whisper before the roar. 11th of March 2011, 2:45 p.m. Japan's earthquake early warning system detected the initial P waves through over 1,000 seismometers spread across the country and immediately issued an emergency earthquake warning. As a result, high-speed trains came to a halt.
I will say this. I think I remember reading this as well. Japan probably has, I think has the highest number of earthquake sensors throughout the country, and I think in the surrounding waters as well. In fact, I think they have the best earthquake detection systems on the planet, bar none. I don't think there's even a second place country that comes to that. I'm guessing the reason they have to do it is you want to keep people safe. You need to know something's coming way ahead of time. Fair enough. Even a couple of seconds could be the difference between life and death. Because even if you're on a train, and I get it, high-speed trains are really nice. You don't want to be trapped on a high-speed train during an earthquake. So I'm guessing they probably have some sensors that detect something's going on, not immediately jams the brake, but slows it down as soon as possible, safely.
They shut down their machinery, and children in schools were instructed to take cover.
Yeah.
Only when the
And this is the right thing to do, especially if you know an earthquake's going to happen. You want to get out of like buildings and structures as soon as possible. If you have an advance enough warning, if you're caught in the structure during an earthquake, you need to go under the table and then just wait it out. That's all you can do.
the ground began to tremble did they realize something was wrong. But by then, it was already too late.
Right.
Cranes up there. They're shaking like crazy.
Oof.
This is massive.
Wow.
2:46 p.m. A 9.1 magnitude underwater mega thruster.
And I do want to say this as well, because I think when people say like, oh, 7.46 and 9.1, so the difference between them is like what, a 1.7? So it's like, okay, it's just an amount bigger. No, the thing with the magnitude scales like these are like, I don't know if it's logarithmic or exponential. I do need someone in the chat to correct me, but it's massive. The difference between a 6, a 7, 8, 9 is just an exponential increase in just how bad the earthquake is. And 9.1 is like disastrous.
Earthquake
And underwater, oh, that's a tsunami.
occurred in the northwestern Pacific Ocean at a relatively shallow.
I don't blame it as well. I think, oh god, I'm going to be pausing a lot in this video if there are like a lot of clips for this. But yeah, a lot of these like standard structures, like these older structures, also don't do really well in like earthquakes. They're not great in earthquakes.
Shallow depth of 18 miles. The epicenter was around 45 miles east of the Oshika Peninsula of Tōhoku, Japan, and the tremors were felt throughout the country and even beyond.
The terrifying moment when it all began.
Oh, run.
Super earthquake and nowhere to hide.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, standing outside is the safest thing you can do.
The most terrifying part was that this was only the beginning.
Yeah.
Since Kurihara City, Miyagi Prefecture, was closest to the epicenter, it experienced the strongest shaking, a 7 intensity on the JMA scale. However, very strong tremors were also felt in Iwate, Fukushima, Ibaraki, and Tochigi prefectures. Tokyo, which is about 232 miles from the epicenter, also witnessed the Earth's wrath as high rises continued to sway for minutes.
I think to be fair, these it is one of those things where you're relatively safe in the sense that these are designed to handle worse earthquakes. That being said, if you're not used to earthquakes and you're in a building during a time something like this is happening, you would be shitting yourself 100%. And that would, and you'd rightfully be shitting yourself so as well.
Not all. Kyoto and Osaka, which are hundreds of miles away in western Japan, also reported noticeable tremors that seismic instruments detected it across the entire globe. The tremors were so strong that they caused the Earth to wobble about 7 inches on its axis.
Yep.
For 6 endless minutes, the Earth did not stop.
Yeah, and that's just to kind of understand just how much energy is released from an earthquake. Because people like to think that it's just, oh, it's, you know, a tsunami or it's like water. It's basically these plates that are just rubbing against each other. And when there's just enough energy on these plates and it's slow. It's like my understanding is there's a subduction plate, is a plate that's going underneath an existing plate. And if it just grasps or gets stuck or just has so much energy that it can't release and it just shreds in or just folds in, that much amount of water, like that, the amount of energy released to that much amount of water on top of it, I think there's one video about like a couple of divers who were underwater when an earthquake happened, and you can just kind of see the earth move beneath them and the water just react, right? Because it's one of those things, unironically, where people used to say that if you're going to face a tsunami, the place you want to be is underwater, which I don't agree with, because you don't want to be dragged in with the water at any point in time. But I imagine if you're in a tsunami, you want to be in a boat far off in the water, or you want to be in a submarine underneath it. That might be your best shot. Because if you're on the coast and you see the water receding away during a tsunami, you're running up to high ground as soon as possible. That's the best you can do.
This time, Japan realized that no technology could predict and stop what nature had awakened.
Oh my god.
Okay, I feel like that's more of an AI generated sentence. I don't know if that's okay. Cool, sure.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my god. This is weird. I've never experienced the ground shaking like this.
Mother and child were at home when the ground shook violently. Everything around her began to shake violently and she immediately realized that it was a major earthquake.
Right.
She quickly grabbed her son and ran outside,
Which is what you
hoping
should
that
do.
the shaking would stop soon.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
When she went outside, she saw more and more people running out of their homes,
Right.
each of them desperately trying to help their loved ones. Both she and her son survived the earthquake, but the worst was yet to come. Under the ocean, tension had been building for centuries, and on that day, it broke through.
The bottom underneath is still shaking. We were just driving and the car was shaking from left to right. It's amazing. It's amazing. Everything was shaking really, really strong. You can see still the cables up there moving.
When silence returned, Japan did not yet know that the real hell was just happening. Japan's main island, Honshu, had been pushed 7.9 feet eastward, while parts of the coastline had sunk nearly 3 feet, swallowed slightly deeper by the sea. Most of Japan's modern buildings survived,
Yeah.
but a significant portion of older structures suffered
Failed,
various
yeah.
types of damage, with oil refineries catching fire under the strong shaking. The Cosmo oil refinery suffered a worse fate
I did not know about this. Wow.
as it burned uncontrollably for days, turning the skyline black with smoke and ash. The most destruction was observed near the epicenter, as it bore the full force of the 9-magnitude earthquake. Almost 200 people lost their lives to the earthquake itself,
Damn.
and the cost of destruction was staggering, an estimated $200 billion US. Yet, even in the midst of smoke and rubble, people believed they had survived the worst. But far below the calm-looking Pacific, the real disaster was awakening. Minutes after the earthquake,
Yeah.
the ocean began to rise unnaturally. The first ominous sign of a tsunami.
Yeah.
Maximum estimated wave heights were 20 feet, but a GPS buoy off of Iwate's coast soon detected a terrifying truth. The sea level was rising far faster and far higher than anyone had imagined. This wasn't a wave, it was a wall, and it was going to slam into Japan's coastline.
Live coverage.
Okay, I do have to admit, like about 7 minutes, and I'm pretty sure this is an AI script. I'm pretty sure, but I will allow it considering that the footage here is insane.
And it was going to slam into Japan's coastline.
Live coverage of a river in Miyagi Prefecture. Tsunami obviously hitting, water going upwards towards the river.
The JMA quickly issued a second tsunami warning, upgrading the tsunami heights to over 33 feet for Miyagi and 20 feet for Iwate and Fukushima. At 3:21 p.m., a 26-foot high wave slammed into Miyako in Iwate Prefecture, the closest city to the earthquake's epicenter. Miyako's position along the Sanriku coast, with its deep V-shaped bays, funneled and amplified the tsunami's power, causing it to hit earlier and far more violently than anywhere else. But here's the remarkable part. The Sanriku district had already faced the tsunami's destructive forces before, in 1933 and 1960. And learning from those bitter experiences, protective seawalls were built around the coastal area to protect it from future disasters. It seemed like everything should have been safe, right? But the waves were so high that they crashed down on Sanriku with incredible force that day.
A tsunami that sent a giant wall of water racing towards the coast, tossing cars, boats, and buildings like fragile toys.
One man heard the sirens and stepped outside, camera in hand, to capture the approaching waves.
Brother, nah. No, I swear to God, if you step outside and you see a wall of water coming towards you, bro, run. Brother, you can't just stand there.
But nothing could prepare him for what he was about to witness. The ocean was moving faster than anyone imagined,
Yeah?
swallowing the neighborhood in seconds. He quickly moved towards higher ground,
Good move. Good move. Actually, very solid move.
but soon realized that he wasn't high enough. The water kept rising. The waves turned deadly, tearing houses from their foundations. He survived the tsunami, but a ticking bomb, just 100 miles away, was about to change his country's fate forever. 3:22 p.m. One coastal region after another was struck by massive waves that swept from Aomori Prefecture to Chiba Prefecture. Each town in the tsunami's path suffered extensive destruction, as buildings, ports, and homes were torn apart by the force of water. The seawalls built to protect Japan's coastal cities proved no match for the tsunami's sheer weight and power. In Rikuzen Takata, waves rose high as a 3-story building. At Koborinai Taro, the water reached 124 feet, and at Amoe Anayoshi in Miyako City, it climbed to nearly 131 feet, wiping out everything in its path. This was the highest tsunami wave ever recorded in Japan, which means that many residents had no place to run or hide.
These images from Japanese TV show the terrible power of the water, sweeping away whole shipping containers and crushing buildings like tin cans.
Kuji and the southern part of Ofunato were among the hardest hit, with entire neighborhoods reduced to rubble. Across a 420-mile stretch of Japan's eastern coast, from Erimo in Hokkaido to Owarai in Ibaraki, the devastation was catastrophic. Much of it
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Fire is just raging along with the water. Is just mental.
occurring within the first hour after the earthquake struck. About 200 people, teachers, children, and parents, were sheltering from the earthquake inside the Noeru school building.
The teachers were like, let's go check the classrooms to make sure everyone's okay and start getting everyone to the gym.
They believed the worst was over, unaware that the ocean was preparing a new, merciless strike.
Some guy with a helmet on, he ran in and he was like, tsunami's coming. And then the principal was like, okay, everyone run back to the school. And he said he saw a wall of water coming. So he's like, everyone run back inside.
The tsunami tore through the school like a raging beast, smashing walls and sweeping away everything and everyone in its path. Risking his life, David Shum tried to save as many as he could, pulling children and adults from the chaos of water and debris.
I saw like one of my kids, like he was like struggling, so I grabbed him, I grabbed his shirt, and I was able to like pull him over to the side, and he was able to grab onto the railing, and I helped heave him over, and I saw like a big desk with like 4 or 5 of my kids like hanging on to it, and they were like saying, you know, they were shouting, help me, help us, help us. And finally I was able to like grab a hold of the desk and pull it closer to me, and then was able to grab them one by one, and we were able to get them over.
We find the toys, books, the shoes of the children piled inside with care and respect. 108 people were in school that day. 74 children and staff were killed.
And for the few who survived, the true ordeal was only beginning. 30 minutes after the major waves had struck the towns, the floodwaters began to recede. The receding water moved with almost the same force as it had when it came in, dragging debris, vehicles, and collapsed buildings back into the ocean. Many people who had clung to debris or floated on rooftops
Just sent to the ocean. Yeah.
during the flooding were mercilessly swept away with a powerful current. Others who had fled to higher ground helplessly watched their broken houses being pulled away into the sea. It was in this moment that people realized the true extent of the devastation. Entire stretches of low-lying land remained submerged, making rescue operations nearly impossible. By the end of the day, more than 18,000 people had lost their lives, out of which several thousand bodies of victims were never recovered. The aftermath was unbearable to witness. Entire
That's... You can't even laugh at that, man. That is just insane. Just to imagine how much the power of water should have been just to drag this all the way inland, dump it on one of the houses, and then just walk. Bro, this is... Just to imagine, that's the size of a normal person. That's the size of the water that was carrying, and that's the force at which it was able to carry all of this. Now, that's mental.
Her towns had vanished, replaced by silence and debris. 2 sons combed through the wreckage for their family, only to find their mother inside her car, lifeless, beside their niece and nephew.
There is no place to put this many bodies. The morgues are completely full. And frankly, there aren't enough people to move them. It is a fact in this part of Japan that at this moment in time, there are not enough living to take care of the dead.
The devastating tsunami
that's a hard sentence to hear. That is a very hard sentence to hear.
Tsunami did not stop at Japan's shores. It burst from the epicenter, racing across the Pacific Ocean at nearly 500 miles an hour. Within hours, 12-foot waves struck Hawaii and the Aleutian Islands of Alaska before reaching California and Oregon. In Crescent City, the waves destroyed the harbor. Docks were torn apart, boats smashed, and damage reached $25 to $30 million. In Santa Cruz, dozens of boats sank, piers were shattered, and losses exceeded $17 million. After 18 hours, the tsunami even reached Antarctica. A foot-high wave broke off part of the Salzburger ice shelf. But while everyone was trying to comprehend the scale of the catastrophe, a more deadly crisis was unfolding at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. The site had silently turned into a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. The power plant is located in Okuma and Futaba towns, Fukushima Prefecture, on Japan.
Which, if I'm not wrong, was facing the direction of the tsunami wave itself, wasn't it? It took a good brunt of the earthquake, then it got hit by a tsunami after that.
Japan's east coast. When the earthquake struck at 2:46 p.m., it lost its main power supply when transmission lines went down, so the reactor switched to emergency diesel generators to keep the cooling systems running and prevent overheating. Inside,
right, which, as I understand, once they got the earthquake, enter scram mode, immediately start shutting down. Like, he's trying to shut down as soon as possible, because you can't. It's not like an immediate button you push and then the nuclear power plant just shuts down. Like, there is a timed cooling control process to shut it down. It takes time.
inside the plant,
Yeah.
Atsufumi Yoshizawa, an engineer responsible for reactors 5 and 6, had no idea that what seemed under control in just 55 minutes would turn into a full-scale catastrophe. A 49-foot-high tsunami wave struck the Fukushima coast, towering over the plant's 19-foot seawall and overwhelming everything in its path. The wave flooded the plant, destroying diesel generators and electrical systems in the basements.
Yes.
Within seconds,
Taking them all offline, yep.
The facility was plunged into darkness. Cooling stopped, and the temperature in the reactors began to rise rapidly. The emergency signals coming to Yoshizawa were getting worse and worse. At that moment, he realized that the situation was getting out of control, and the station was on the verge of disaster.
If I'm not wrong, they what they had to do was, since they didn't have power to read the instruments, they went outside, they scavenged batteries from even cars, and then just directly figured out ways to plug them into the instruments to at least power them to see what's going on inside the reactor. And even then, those readings terrified them.
The Japanese government quickly ordered the first evacuation within a 1.9-mile radius of the power plant. Residents in the 2 to 6 mile zone were told to stay indoors, but as radiation levels spiked, the evacuation zone was expanded to a 6-mile radius. 7:30 p.m. Despite desperate attempts by engineers to reduce the pressure, the reactor continued to heat up rapidly. By morning, the temperature had reached critical levels, and internal components of the reactor began to melt, bringing disaster closer. 12th of March 2011, 3:36 p.m. A hydrogen explosion ripped through the first unit, tearing off the roof of the reactor building. It was now clear that the Fukushima nuclear power plant was out of control, and the government quickly expanded the evacuation zone to 12 miles. But the nightmare continued. For 2 days, specialists fought desperately to stabilize the plant. But on March,
they're trying to restore power as much as possible, but you have to understand, the roads were damaged as well, so they couldn't get generators directly there. They were trying to restore power, which is the most important thing.
March 14th at 11:01, the third unit exploded.
Yeah. I remember seeing this in the news. This was news all over the planet. I was just like, bro, I think we were watching this live on the news. I think it was one evening here when we saw this happen.
Even more powerful than the first, causing seismic damage and the release of radioactive waste, and a partial meltdown of the core occurred in the second reactor. On March 15th, 2011, the second unit began to massively release radioactive gases. Although there was no explosion there, this release gave the highest radiation levels. On the same day, a fire broke out in the spent fuel storage area of the fourth unit, which released additional radionuclides into the atmosphere. It was then that Atsufumi Yoshizawa realized that Fukushima had finally turned into a full-scale nuclear disaster.
And the situation's still far from under control. We're hearing radio.
And if I'm not wrong, I do want to mention one thing here, which is, if I recall, the moment the disaster happened, they did decide to eventually send. I could be wrong if it was immediate or was during the course of the disaster. They decided to send everyone else away and keep like only 50 people on site. They became known as the Fukushima 50. And their whole like task was just get the plant in a safe zone and shut things down. So some of them were sent to, because the actual release valves, since automation, since you didn't have electricity to automatically or hydraulically move any of these valves, they actually had to send people on site to manually try releasing the valves. I'm guessing they found some success, but not enough to stop this. Yeah.
Into a full-scale nuclear disaster.
And the situation's still far from under control. We're hearing radiation levels inside the plant reached as high as 1,000 times the normal level. So what started as a natural disaster has the potential to become an even more threatening man-made disaster.
The power plant had reached its most critical phase, and most people were expecting an evacuation. However, a small group of men, later known as the Fukushima 50,
I'm glad they're telling their story, because this is insane, by the way,
stayed inside the nuclear plant. These men, mostly TEPCO employees, engineers, technicians, and
I don't want to get into like necessarily the nitty-gritty, like the business aspect of it, but TEPCO, the power plant company,
operators,
like the actual operator of the companies themselves, like some of their actions during this whole incident were, I'd like to say, questionable at best, and I don't want to say certain words at worst. So, I mean, if you actually do see other documentaries of the disaster, I think people can, just make their own assessment and assumptions of what actually happened, but not really a huge fan of them. I'll just say that much.
Had a terrifyingly clear mission.
Yeah.
Stabilize the reactors, prevent a full meltdown, and contain the radiation at any cost. The Fukushima 50 were not soldiers or heroes by choice. They were ordinary workers who refused to leave when their country needed them most.
It's frightening. I don't know much about radiation, but I believe that being exposed to large amounts of it meant certain death.
Well, I think Chernobyl, the TV show, like the one on HBO, shout out, said it best. Every free radical atom is like a bullet, and if you got enough of those bullets striking you at enough times, and which damages your cellular makeup, your DNA, yeah, you die from cancer, yo. That's the best case scenario if you don't die from radiation sickness. So
fear is only natural.
Yeah.
But counteracting that fear was a sense of duty that all of us felt.
Yoshizawa and his colleagues remained at the plant for an entire month, working under deadly conditions to bring the station under control.
I know people don't I know seeing this.
Working under
it's easy to see, but please understand, they're working close to I'd say extremely radioactive equipment. Not necessarily extremely, but you're not in a clean environment. You're forced to wear radiation suits. There can be droplets of water or things that just fall on you. That can have a significant impact on the rest of or let's say the longevity of the life you have left. If you make bad moves or just get unlucky in these places, your lifespan is significantly reduced. So hats off to them. The amount of bravery you need to have to do this is, you couldn't pay me enough to do this. I'm just saying, you couldn't pay me enough to do this.
Conditions to bring the station under control and restore hope for a safer future.
Yeah.
In truth, without the Fukushima 50, the nuclear disaster could have been far worse.
Yeah.
And the world might look very different today.
True.
Neo Kimura lived with his wife and 2 daughters next door to his parents. When the tsunami struck, the waves swept away his father, his wife, and his youngest daughter, 7-year-old Yuna. All that remained was the empty foundation where their home once stood.
This is a shoe she was wearing that day, which was found in a heap of rubble 6 months after the disaster.
Unfortunately, there was no time to mourn his family, as Neo had to vacate the area due to the looming threat from the Fukushima power plant. More than a decade later, the remains of all 111 people who died in Okuma that day have been found, all except for Yuna. By March 20th,
That's That is painful. I will say that I think it's also with the fact that I imagine a lot of people wouldn't be found if their bodies just get, they float and didn't get taken into the ocean, right? You don't, there's not much you can do then in that case.
Power to the plant had been partially restored, but it took several more weeks before the cooling systems were fully operational.
Right, and restored,
The explosions left behind more than just ruins. Radioactive particles spread across Japan, reaching even the United States and Europe. TEPCO later admitted that over 10,000 tons of contaminated water had leaked into the ocean.
Which, in the grand scheme of things, I don't know exactly the numbers or the exact statistics, but the dilution should have taken care of most of the radiation, so we should be fine. But that being said, not the best of scenarios, though. True.
The fallout rendered vast areas around the plant uninhabitable.
Right.
Even after years of cleanup, more than 100,000 people remained displaced. The Fukushima disaster became the costliest nuclear accident in history, with expenses exceeding $180 billion. The 2011 Tōhoku earthquake.
And I will say this, right? I think I do actually have to take a minute to say this, right? I understand there's a lot of people, and not necessarily in every country, but in certain countries that have also said, like, and this may be a aspect of political understanding, or maybe it's a cultural aspect of just saying, you look at Fukushima and then you basically say, well, that means all nuclear energy is bad. Not an easy look to say, especially when you're in a country that's prone to both tsunamis and earthquakes. If you're from a country that isn't prone to tsunamis or earthquakes, nuclear energy is great. It's one of the safest forms of energy. Sure, this is like planes, right? It's like saying, I shouldn't be laughing while saying this, but yeah, airplanes are the safest mode of transport, even in light of recent events, okay? With the sheer number of aviation incidents we're seeing, still the most, and you have to consider an aspect of how many flights take place daily. So statistically, still the safest mode of transport. It's just that I would prefer to be in a car accident or a train accident rather than being in a plane accident because, well, in a car and in a train, I'm dealing with the earth. That's okay. I'll figure things out, right? When you're dealing with a plane accident, you're fighting gravity. And at that point, physics always wins. You lose 9 times, if not 10 times out of 10, right? In terms of nuclear energy, it's safe to say that
was not only the most powerful.
Yeah, it is safe to say that this is the type of energy, or at least this is the type of what. It's incredible what it's capable of because it's able to power cities, without fire, without flames, right? Without soot, without smoke. It's able to just, keep. How do I want to say this? I actually don't know how to think. It's able to keep pollution low, right? And it's one of the cleanest forms of energy apart from solar. As I understand, solar is even cheaper, but there's still an environmental impact when you make solar panels, right? In this case, yes, the byproduct of nuclear energy is you do need to deal with that. But at the same time, it's one of those forms of energy that if you have a relatively safe geographical location to keep it in, it's worth the initial investment to pay off for future generations as well, right? Because it helps. It's basically the cleanest form of electricity. That's the most consistent, and it's not like defined by environmental factors. It's not like a bad cloudy day is going to have give you less energy, right? Which is the reason why I think nuclear energy is so important. The fact that this isn't more common today is something that I think is just an aspect of policy. I think it should be adopted more. I think it's a very clean, safe form of energy. Granted, you're watching a video with a practical nuclear disaster taking place. But that being said, this is the exceptions, not the norm, right? It's only when you do things in very unexpected places and have very unexpected things happen in that 1% chance something like this could ever happen that you basically say, oh, well, it could happen. I said, yeah, but if you play it safe and you plan it safe, you should be okay. And it's a great technology nonetheless. I'm just saying.
Ever recorded in Japan. Its effects were felt around the world.
Yeah?
And debris from Japanese towns still wash up on the North American coast, a haunting reminder of that day. More than 120,000 buildings were reduced to rubble. Nearly 20,000 lives were lost, and thousands remain missing. The total damage reached $235 billion, making it the most expensive natural disaster in human history.
That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, that is insane. That is insane.
Japan has risen to its feet once more, but March 11th, 2011 left a scar not only on its land, but on the world's collective memory. A reminder of a power that shows no mercy.
Oh yeah, 100%. This is the force of nature. There's not much you can do to stop it, but you can plan ahead. There's a saying for it, the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. The same reason, right? It's the same concept of you got to be ready for when it happens next, right? I would not be surprised if this pushes Japan in a situation of just reducing the number of nuclear reactors they have, which I don't know. I think policy-wise, you can definitely find safe places to install nuclear power plants. Probably keeping them on the coast may be a bit risky considering the tsunami threats, but it's still possible. It's still doable, to my understanding. But then again, I leave it to the experts to probably come up with, their approach and their methodology of thinking about it. But it's one of those things where it's great to see nuclear energy take off. I really wish it was a technology that became more prevalent, so it powers a lot more countries. But it's still that, it's still not a technology that's readily adopted, and there is the capital cost of initial investment of setting up a plant. So, I mean, there are multiple factors in play, isn't it? So it is what it is. The day that almost ended the world. Yeah. Wow. It's crazy to see that, you see some of the footage of this tsunami, and it's just wild seeing, because you like to think of tsunamis as like clean cut walls of water that are approaching you that's lethal. But when you actually see a tsunami in action where it's just turbulent, dark, gray, just climbing onto like either houses or cars and different other structures as it rakes it like through the cities and streets, it is terrifying. Because it's like a force of nature coming out to like grab you and drag you back into the ocean. And there's not much you can do to stop it, which is wild to see, honestly. But yeah, wow, this is the first tsunami reaction on the channel, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed the reaction. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch you beautiful bastards in the next one. Peace. Take care. Nice.